We started with one sewing machine, went to about 20, 30, 50, and now we have over 300 machine factories.
Wow.
My first lady I designed for was a wife of the late President Mugabe.
Okay.
I made an outfit in Kente. I'm told it fit perfect.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was the beginnings of it. I designed for the wife of the late Murtala Mohammed, Winnie Mandela. I designed for so many first ladies, including Nana Koledu Ajimon. Women don't have it easy getting funded.
Why do you think that's the case?
Somehow, women are placed in this box, but there are some of us who don't allow it. I went on global platforms because I said, first of all, I wanted to prove to family that my life wasn't messed up because I didn't become a medical doctor. Secondly, that I wasn't settled to being a seamstress,
Right.
but this was going to be a business and a globally
Global.
recognized business.
That's right. Greetings, incredible viewers. You are welcome to Diva Doc Let's Talk, the empowering show that celebrates remarkable women who are making a difference. Today, we are privileged to have the amazing Dr. Nora Bannerman-Abbott at our distinguished brown table. She is driven by an unwavering entrepreneurial spirit. Dr. Bannerman has made significant contributions to Ghana's business landscape throughout her illustrious 40-year career. In 2019, the World Bank named Dr. Bannerman one of the top 20 global female business leaders. She has also been inducted into Ghana's Corporate Hall of Fame, amongst many others. As CEO of Sleek Garments Export Limited, she has demonstrated exceptional leadership and management skills, overseeing the success of multiple companies and leaving an indelible mark on the fashion industry. Furthermore, her establishment of the Africa Sleek Institute of Creativity and Technology has empowered countless young women in the textile industry, equipping them with the skills and knowledge necessary for success. Join us as we delve into Dr. Bannerman's inspiring journey, exploring her entrepreneurial accomplishments, her dedication to education and skills development, and the impact she has made as a role model in Ghana's business community. Prepare to be inspired and uplifted by the extraordinary achievements and unwavering commitment of Dr. Nora Bannerman-Abbott on this empowering episode of Diva Doc Let's Talk. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us here. This is a serious outfit you have here. And welcome to Diva Doc Let's Talk. So, how did this all start? I'm curious, how did it all start? Because a little bird told me you were going into medicine and this. Like, what happened?
And now this. Okay, so fashion has always been my passion. It sounds cliche, but that's for a fact. My mom was a fashionista, real fashionista. So growing up, I remember being all dressed up for church, especially for parties and so on. And I just love clothing myself. And then being the only daughter, my dad also discovered I love dolls, I love dressing dolls up. And what my parents say is that from 2 years old, they noticed I do all these things with paper. So he got me magazines with the paper dolls, and then I would copy some of these paper dolls, cut out dresses for my paper dolls. And then I remember having all these dolls in his study that I began to dress up. So
Oh, wow.
at 6 years, my parents gave me a sewing machine for my present.
Oh, wow.
So now, years later, when I decided no, medicine was not for me, I went through sixth form. I was the only girl in the science class.
Okay.
It was quite interesting, but what I hated the most was having to put down the guinea pigs for experiments. I would get red-eyed, the boys would tease me, and I thought, no, girl, this is not where you belong.
Right.
So I just needed time away,
Okay.
and then I just said, this is what I want to do. Because through primary school into secondary school, I'd already started making clothes, needlework. Nobody taught me to. God-given talent.
Oh, wow.
I just knew what to do. And for my confirmation, when I was in Form 3 in Achimota School, guess what? I took all the clothing that my mom had brought, made by somebody else. I took it apart and redesigned and
Oh,
made
wow.
them
Oh,
for
wow.
my confirmation. And interestingly, my daughter also had a talk about confirmation dress made by me for her in Achimota School. She also went there.
All right.
But you know, as to the business, So I was away when I lost my older brother, and my dad knew that this is where I wanted to go. And my mom said to me I needed to come back because our dad wasn't doing too well. So I came back and started something at home on my own. And I remember this mature lady, seamstress, she said to me, Nora, you can't do this by yourself. Without help, you're going to kill yourself. Sadly, she passed on. She killed herself on the job, but
Oh, no.
this was it. Anyway, so I went into this almost full time after having spent time out of the country. And I don't know how these things happen, but I just remember thinking to myself, oh no, I'm not going to be stuck in a little corridor making one outfit at a time, especially not when family has said, oh, her life is all messed up. She was supposed
There
to
you
be
go.
another Dr. Bannerman.
There you go.
And there she is, a seamstress. And I wanted to show them
There you
I'm not
go.
a seamstress.
Right.
This is a business.
Yes.
So I remember visiting the state protocol offices, and I said to them, we give away kente to dignitaries, lady dignitaries and so on. They really don't know what to do with this. Can I design for the first ladies? And then they said to me, but how are we going to get their measurements? I said, no worries. Once upon a time at our airport, you could stand on the first floor and see who was getting off or on the flight.
Okay.
So the first lady I designed for was the wife of the late President Mugabe.
Okay.
I just saw her come off the flight. I made an outfit in kente, and I'm told it fit perfectly.
Wow.
And that brought her twin sister to me. And we discovered that we were both born June 6th. Of course, they were older.
Right.
We became that close.
Oh, wow.
And that was the beginnings of it. I designed for the wife of the late Murtala Mohammed. I designed for Winnie Mandela. I designed for so many first ladies, including Nana Konedu Ajiman Rawlings, of course, of Ghana.
Oh, wow.
So it started off bespoke. And then the EU office in Ghana also heard about what I was doing, because my thing also was to dress to kill, also cliche.
There you go.
But then people would ask, so who is she? And the word by mouth at the time began to spread that this is what I do. I remember designing it was the NAM conference, Non-Aligned Nations Conference in Ghana. I suggested I could design uniforms for the liaison officers to show off the Ghana-made fabrics and so on. It was a hit. So all of these added to my building of a brand, the Nora Bannerman brand, which is what I called my designs.
Wow.
So the EU office here, I remember, sponsored me to take part in fashion shows in Paris, in Dusseldorf.
Oh, wow.
And in Paris, Kofi Ansan and Mauli Okujeto were also invited to take part in these shows. But what I loved the most was that my designs in kente and some contemporary fabrics was such a hit that was used as the grand finale for the show.
Wow. Wow.
In magazines, on TV, globally, and so on.
That's awesome.
So anyway, that's part of the story. There's much more to it. It's been
I'm
over
gonna be
4.5 decades.
digging. I'm gonna be digging. So
a
you
bit
know,
of that,
I'm
yeah.
listening to you,
Yeah.
and I hear you say, I stood here and I saw this person. Like, how do you even get that access? Somebody listening to us today
Yeah.
would say, maybe she just got lucky.
Yeah.
Because me, this lady under the tree sewing,
Yeah.
will not have access
Yeah.
to standing at a place where I can see the first lady of
Yeah.
Zimbabwe
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
Do you think it was luck? Do you think being there the right, or do you think it was just ordained for you to be in that space?
Okay. For one thing, being a Christian, I always believe that things do not happen by accident, by design. And also, God has purposed us for a certain platform, a certain achievement in life. But the other thing is for us to take advantage of what we feel within us.
That's right.
And this has been me.
Yes.
I've never been one to stand aside,
Yes.
to grumble about what I don't like, to talk about what I wish were.
Right.
I like to get into it.
You got it.
So this is what found me at the state protocol, for instance, say, why are you giving away kentes to ladies who probably don't know what to do with this woven fabric? This is what would send me to the Ministry of Trade and Industry and suggest ABC. The other time I was looking through some photos because I have some other interviews, some other talk coming up. And I saw that it's maybe 20 years ago, here I was signing agreements. There were development partners that had contributed to skills development in Ghana. And here I was invited to sign agreements with the Minister of Education on one side and the Director General of the CTVET on the
Yeah.
other side. This
Yes.
was because I'd been talking so much about skills training
Yes.
and what it could do for our country, what it could do for industry. So they must have thought, yeah, we need her to be a part of all this conversation. And why don't we have her
Right.
symbolically
There you
also
go.
signing this
There you
into
go.
the country?
There you go.
So I think that also has helped.
Yes.
And this is one thing I suggest to people. You decide on what you want to do. You need to find like-minded individuals. You need to find out which institutions have already been established by government
Yes.
to support private sector, to support what you do. Throw out your suggestions. It will come back and benefit you.
Yes.
It benefits a bigger group. It brings attention to our country.
Yes.
It will help you to grow your
Yes.
business.
Yes.
And that has been me.
Yes.
And it's still my way of
Yes.
looking at things. Yeah.
Because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, wow, a woman did this. You know what I mean? I'm thinking should be a company or an institution, but this
Yes.
is a woman. And
Yeah.
I think I asked you before we did this.
Yeah.
How did you even get funding to start this?
Yes.
For the person sitting out there saying, I want to be like her.
Yes.
How do you even start?
How do I start? So I'll have to tell everyone out there that funding was a challenge initially. There were the good things, there were really challenging ones, some very annoying, and I believe it still happens. Women don't have it easy getting funding, although, statistics show that they are only about 10% likely to fail, to default in
Really?
paying back, which means 90% of women pay back what they borrow. And yet, women entrepreneurs struggle to get funding.
Why do you think that's the case?
It's this perception. It's a global thing. It still seems to be a man's world. There was Beijing and all the declarations and so on. But somehow women are placed in this box, and unfortunately, some women allow it. But there are some of us who don't allow this.
Yes.
So I'll tell you one of the things that I did. There was support for family. My dad, for instance, gave me an annex, a building he'd put up for my brothers at the time. It's a musical family to do their own stuff. But then the family agreed that Nora should have it.
That's right.
So there was just my mother's one sewing machine, domestic sewing machine. Then my dad put something in. My daughter's father put in 2 machines. He always says I should make sure I mention this. Anyway, that's a funny one. So anyhow, we started that small. There was a friend, and this is it. I go out, I meet people, I learn. I found out that in my neighborhood, there was a business making yarns for Akosombo textiles. I got to talking to them to understand about textile locally. And then the owner found out that this is what I'm doing and says, look, we're donating how many pieces of fabrics for you if you're having a show.
Oh, wow.
So I had my first fashion show with fabrics donated by a friend for free.
Oh, wow.
And guess what it did for me? I went on global platforms because I said, first of all, I wanted to prove to family that my life wasn't messed up because I didn't become a medical doctor. Secondly, that I wasn't settled to being a seamstress,
Right.
but this was going to be a business and a globally
Global.
recognized business.
That's right.
So I went out doing shows using only made in Ghana prints. And guess what? Sales rose for Akosombo textiles, there was Spintex and then Printex, now Printex. There was also GTP. And guess what they started to do? They started giving me fabric for free.
Wow.
Because I was bringing them the sales they needed. And that was way back, we're talking about the 80s.
Wow.
And then into the 90s, I had found out, as I said, each institution that had been established to support businesses. There was the Ghana promotion, Ghana something,
Yeah,
promotion
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Anyway, so I had conversations with them, and they were inviting buyers into the country. And I quickly put together samples of my own creations, 4 of them in batiks. And guess what? All the 4 were selected by these buyers.
Wow.
So I got a huge order of 10,000 pieces of my own designs in batiks
I'm amazed.
with bead buttons. And it took me all the way to Somanya to find out that there were beads there and we could have buttons made in them. And then I got into conversation with one of the buyers, and the buyer said, Nora, but pricing may be an issue for the US markets.
Right.
We want 10,000 pieces. We want lesser price. I said, I'm a designer. I can't be selling clothing at that price.
Right.
They say, you know what? You could probably take this off, take that off, but look at the affordable market. That's what got me into the mass production market,
I
affordable
see. I see.
markets.
I
And that's
see.
why you see this
Got
big
it.
lot.
Got it.
So it started with one sewing machine, went to about 20, 30, 50, and now we have over 300 machine factories.
Wow.
So we exported about 10,000 pieces of clothing to the US market. It was sold in Pier 1 stores
Oh, wow.
at the time. You know, big thing for us, for Ghana.
Yeah. And
And
for you.
we were talking about funding. It wasn't easy. You know, initially I would go sit before a bank manager, and sadly to say, he'd see a pretty lady and he's thinking about,
That's
I got to
right.
date her.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a woman on her own.
Yes.
I got to take care of
Yes,
her
yes.
and blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
And then it wouldn't work and I'd
Yeah,
walk out.
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
walking a manager out of my premises once because of the rot he had spoken about dating me before he could look at my application.
Yeah.
I remember my
know.
mother had to come in and say, Nora, it's enough.
Yeah.
It is okay.
That's- yeah,
And
I
this
can
guy, I
imagine.
don't know how he got out
Yeah.
without burying himself in the sand. Anyway,
Yeah.
so it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But when I got that international order, and it doesn't happen for everybody.
No, it
But
doesn't.
for everyone listening to me, we have boldness in us. You have to be bold.
Yes.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
measures. Yeah.
I went to the seat of government. Then it was President Rawlings in power. And I said to them, I have an appointment with the president. So they take a look at this one standing there. Okay. So they go check with the president. And he's also curious. Who is this one? He knows I'm not on his calendar. There's no meeting. And he says, yeah, let her come in. So I go and I say, Mr. President, I have this huge order. That was for the 10 pieces. So like
The
I
10,000
know
pieces.
10,000
Uh-huh.
pieces of my designs. I said, I know this will open the doors for Ghana on the US markets. I can't find funding. So we sit, talk. He picks up the phone, calls the deputy minister of finance or something at the time. And we're talking the early 90s. So I'm invited to go have a conversation. And they call it a tip loan. At the time, it was facility for only government institutions.
Okay.
But they were willing to take the chance.
Chance with you. Okay.
So for everybody listening to me,
Yeah.
you need to have a goal.
Yeah.
You need to have a plan. You need to sound bold enough. Be sure, because you have your strategic plan. Be sure you know where you want to get to. Be sure you can speak into it. And I believe you can find some funding. And I want to share with everyone, I'm on Development Bank Ghana, and I want to make sure that we are reaching out.
Yes.
And we are reaching out to everyone,
Right.
to business for long term. But this is how I got that loan, that tip
Okay.
loan.
Just by going
And
into
guess
his
what?
office.
Yes, and guess what? I was able to pay back in 2 months, and it opened the door for private sector to now access this opportunity that lay there.
Wow.
So private sector, you need to thank me.
But I
That's
gotta
just a
ask this
joke.
question. Do you think sometimes your good looks or your confidence can get you into spaces? I know that it has gotten me into spaces
Yeah.
where I just come across as very confident and people think I know what I'm talking about and
Yeah.
they just let me in.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Do you think that happens when
yeah.
you just exude this aura of confidence?
Yes. I love the fact that you stress on confidence. You see, I believe that everything is divined by God. You know, the genes, which family you came from, and everything else. What you do with what you have is the most important. Some people do not exude confidence. It's more like they're selling a body. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And when I sit before people,
I love that.
I,
Stress it.
right from the first few sentences, you know, I'm here about business. I remember years back, so before I established my own business, you know, still going through the throes of trying to settle in on what I do, how I put together monies. I worked for a timber company for a short period of time. And then there was the challenge of shortage of fuel, and my boss was out of town. Fuel was needed at the timber, concession site. So I took it upon myself to go to the minister, was he the Minister of Energy? It must have been Professor Benny's office. So I go and sit in there. He takes a good look at me. So he says, okay, so your boss sent a pretty lady to speak to me. So I look shocked. I look at him because that was the last thing. So I said, Prof, I chose to come to see you, Honorable Minister. I chose to come to see you on my own volition. My boss is in Italy. Fuel is needed at the site. These are the regulations. We can't buy in containers, and yet we have orders to be shipped out. He was so impressed.
Yes.
Next thing I know, the chief director is in, there's a chit, and we get our fuel.
There you go.
And he just said, well done, young lady. And that was the end of the story. So it's up to one. Yes, it will open doors because first impressions count.
Yeah.
So you look, but you don't, it doesn't matter if you're beautiful or not. Your look,
Yeah.
you know, how you look.
Yes.
Look sharp, look
Yep.
smart, but be sure that you the
Present
right
yourself-
message
Yes.
should be presented
Yes.
from the start.
Yes.
If you give the wrong impression, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to get into something, you're going to have to keep doing that.
Yeah.
You have to bear that in mind.
Yeah.
I have never put before any man, anybody, that I'm about selling my body to get anywhere. I'll walk out any day.
Yeah.
If I had the last CD on me before I walked into your office,
Yeah.
I'll walk out proudly with my last CD.
Yeah.
But what do? I immediately think, okay, that didn't work.
You're right,
What's
next.
the next plan?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And this is what got me to thinking that I needed to sew because I had a creative talent. Sew for ladies who could afford to pay the price. So I began to put money in that direction. Also context connections,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But then there were the challenges. But also, one thing I mentioned about association.
Yes.
Getting together with like-minded persons. People are not appreciative of the value of working together.
Yeah.
But I've discovered so much in that.
Yeah.
There are opportunities around us. Most may not have funding to give out to one company, but a group of individuals because they are sure
Yes.
that with a group, you can bear each other up and success may be
Yeah.
assured.
Yeah.
So that's another way. I've been a member of the Association of Ghana Industries for years. I've been an executive. I am the chair of the
I was going
awards
to ask a
committee,
follow-up
you know,
question about that.
that. But,
yeah.
but yeah, so that is, it's good. But ladies, please, please, we all are beautiful things. I spent time in one country, I'm not going to mention it, trying to put things together. I focused on why I was there. 2 pairs of jeans, 5 tops was sufficient for me. I was going around to understand what the garment industry was about, what I was coming here to set up with. I wasn't interested in spending my good money on buying so much more when I wasn't there yet.
Right. Right.
So you
right.
go according to
According
what
to-
you
yeah,
have
yes.
until you're at that point where
Yeah.
you can afford
Yeah,
everything.
Yes.
And you can afford to give.
Yes. Yes.
You know, then
yes.
you have arrived.
Yes.
But
yes.
if you haven't arrived and you need to go through all kinds of ways just to show something off, please don't go there, young
Yeah.
ladies.
Yeah.
I've mentored a lot of young ladies. I knew you wanted to talk about, but I'll throw that in.
Yes.
But you know, thankfully for me, they are all ladies who have established their own small businesses, cottage industries, married, settled in, but they've set up their businesses, and they've never come to me cup in hand for money.
Right.
There are those who may have said to me, okay, Mom, I want to do this, but if you could lend me so much, but it's for
I'll
a
pay
business.
back, yes.
And they pay back.
Right.
You know, so,
Right,
yeah,
right.
That's my advice.
So talking about mentoring, did you have any mentors? I know your mom was one of the, individuals that you looked up to that was,
Yes.
of course, present.
Yeah.
But did you have any mentors that you say, okay, this person was my mentor?
Yeah. So, fortunately or unfortunately, at the time I went into the business, I had no mentors. There was only competition. They saw me as competition. Young, they were the more matured ones in the industry. I came with fresh blood, innovative ideas, wanting to go global immediately. Big ideas that some thought were too big, but it worked for me
Good.
because I just took what I had to London. I didn't have the money to pay for models. What did I do? I went to a modeling school and I said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. You have models that need to be showcased. Why don't we partner and
Yes,
do this?
yeah.
They thought, great idea, let's do it. I
Oh,
didn't have to
wow.
pay for a
Oh,
model. We did
wow.
our stuff.
Wow.
I did that in the US. And then, of course, the EU office here sponsored me for the Paris shows
Oh, wow.
and stuff like that.
Invite me to
So
one next time.
I will. I will.
I'll be there.
You see, so the thing is this: if you have a set goal, you think through it. You think through your needs. You think through what you can afford, what you have, what you don't have. But what is around us that you can take advantage of?
Right.
I've always done that. Modeling schools, yeah. The models want to be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Totally.
they will do that for you
Yeah,
for
yeah,
free.
for free.
We did that for a long time and it
Wow.
worked.
I mean,
So,
you had to
yeah.
have been smart because not everybody thinks like that. And I think sometimes that's the advantage that leaders end up having
Yeah, yeah.
because they think outside the box.
Box.
And not everyone
Exactly.
can think outside the
That's the
box. And I think
problem. Yeah.
a few people are blessed with that, thinking
Yeah.
outside the box.
That's it. Makes a
One question I
difference.
want, I know you have a family, you have kids,
Yes.
and and you told me sometimes you stay till 10.
Yeah.
How do you balance,
Yeah.
having a life with this?
With
I mean,
this.
I
Yeah.
love to travel. People are like,
Yeah.
when do you work? I'm
That's
like,
it.
I do work. I
Yeah.
make my numbers.
Yes,
But
yes.
you see me traveling because I know how to balance my
Yeah.
vacation time and all that. So how do you do that? Like,
How
when
did
do you
I do
take
it?
time off to say, okay, I'm going to leave here. I have someone I can trust to take
Right.
care of,
Okay, so the one thing I recognized right from the onset that if I didn't keep my children close, they were going to grow up without their mother. It wasn't easy. I traveled with my daughter, my firstborn, and thankfully, after she'd been through everything, her first degree in business administration and finance, MBA in project management,
Nice.
working for two banks, I poached her. I love using the
I
word
know you
poach.
said,
It
I'm
makes me
like, it's
feel
your
good
daughter. You
about
don't
that.
poach your daughter.
Because she thought friends said, "Hey, you don't work for your mom. She's not going to pay you." I said, "Okay, you pay me then." But anyway, so I used to travel around with her a lot, and we
Okay.
still do that.
Okay, nice.
I kept her close. It wasn't easy because it's work. I remember with my son, his first birthday celebrated in Ghana was when he hit 5.
Oh,
Because
wow.
his first birthday was in Paris. I had a show there, so my daughter went along, taking care of him.
They have a big
Was
age difference that she
the,
could take care of him?
the firstborn was
I know,
Natasha,
that's me.
and then the middle child is Lee Garments Export Limited,
Right.
and
And
then
then the
the
last.
third one, the last one is Kevin. So this is it. I traveled around with them for years.
Oh,
I
wow.
take them everywhere, and this is it. So we've grown really close. They have been good to me because and God has been good to me
Yeah.
because we grown up close.
Yes.
I managed to work. There were times when I questioned if I was a great
Mom.
parent or mom, but the good thing is that testimony is
Yes.
the fact that my children are so close to me.
Yeah.
I'm told they're so well behaved, well
Yes.
respected, and they're doing so well.
Yeah.
So it worked.
Yes,
I
it
kept
did.
them close,
Yeah.
as I said,
Yeah.
influence their choices, not by pushing,
Mm.
but that I was always available. They were more of my friends.
Yeah.
I had my daughter mothering me a lot of times. I have my son fathering me,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
being the dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was it.
Yeah.
And it's always been like that. There were years when my daughter would sit up just waiting and she'll fall asleep. I put her to bed and she'll still come and see why mom is still awake. It hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
Have I found the formula? No.
No.
Do I do great at it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But then, this is a passion. It was a hobby and everything else. That's a business. So I really don't know when to stop. Sometimes it's my daughter who tells me, Mom, it's 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Mom, it's midnight.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you fall asleep and
Yeah.
wake up or
Yeah.
woke
Yeah.
you up,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so
But you still haven't answered my question.
Sorry.
How do you
how
decompress?
how do I
Because like I
decompress?
travel, I love to travel and I love to work out.
Yes.
So I'll go to the gym and spend 3 hours at the gym.
Okay.
Just sauna, jacuzzi,
Sauna,
this,
that's
that,
it,
and the other,
that's it.
just to. But
That's
what
it.
do you do? Do you do
So,
yoga,
okay,
meditation?
yeah. So my typical day would start with I guess some healthy fruit drink, and then a smoothie, and then I get on my bike. I used to make it to the gym,
Okay.
but now I just can't go out to the gym because there are too many things on my table,
Yes,
and I
yeah.
got a bike where I can set up my
Right,
screen and
right,
still work.
right.
What I do my meditation while I'm riding.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Okay.
So I do a devotional in the morning. And being Christian, I may have mentioned in the past, I tend to, I meditate, I pray a lot.
Okay.
My inspiration is actually from the Word of God.
Okay.
Yeah. I learned, I was introduced to a Bishop Cleland very early on in the 80s because I was robbed clean of everything that I had put together
Oh, wow.
in 86. I was an angry person, and he taught me through God's
wow.
word to calm down. And once I'd calmed down and I'd learned some lessons through that,
Yes.
guess what? There were so many who they gave more than I lost.
Yes. Yes.
And that taught me a great lesson about who God is. And this is why I tend to take a lot into prayer.
Yes.
I'll get angry. I'll make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'll say things I shouldn't say.
Yeah.
But in the end, I go back
Like,
to
yeah,
prayer.
yeah.
And I try to start with
Yeah.
prayer.
Yeah.
I've seen family in very dire situations, and God has come through for us.
Yes.
So my faith in Him is very, very strong.
Yeah. And so
I've
I'm
had
that's
opportunities
awesome.
also come my way,
Mm.
and you talked about what I do. I love traveling too. And I make sure that I have sufficient days when I'm done with business
Right.
to take care of myself,
Okay.
pamper myself,
Yes. Yes.
sightsee.
Yes.
I love to see everything.
Yes. You need
I love
that.
meeting people.
Mm.
Once my son said to me, okay, so he takes walks and then he talks to strangers. I said, I thought I told you don't talk to strangers. And this is an adult
Yeah.
son.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, but mom, you do that.
Right.
You travel out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see photos you post and you're toasting champagne with complete strangers. I ask you, who are these?
You're right. I don't know.
We met in a club and we
Right.
got talking.
Nice.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so
So you do
I
that.
just
Yeah.
and I'm comfortable being by myself sometimes, comfortable meeting people. I'm more of an extrovert, so
Okay.
it works well for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
But I love traveling.
That's great.
So work and pleasure.
Yeah, that's great.
That's-
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
So, I know this is a success story for sure, but can you think of any setbacks or obstacles that you're like, oh my God, it was just so hard?
Yeah.
Because I don't want
Yeah.
the audience to think it
It's
was
been-
peachy
No.
all through.
No.
I know it wasn't peachy.
It wasn't.
And so they need to hear that. Like any time that there was a major setback that made you even, second guess and say, do I really want to do this?
Yeah, yeah. So this was leading to my marriage, to my ex-husband. We had orders for weddings, and I had engaged the supervisor. And one day we start the day and nobody shows up for work.
Oh,
So this supervisor had taken everybody off. I don't know how he managed to convince everyone to go along with him. But guess what? It lasted for just about a month and a half. And whatever he was trying to do didn't work out. And there were all these young ones with no jobs. And I said, I'm not taking any of you back.
yeah, no.
But that was a big lesson.
Yeah.
And then it was also leading to my own wedding. So while everyone was waiting, while we were done with, you know what happened? So the old students who had started their own businesses, I called them and I said, this is what's happened to me.
Yeah.
And this is why it's good to be good to these young ones.
Yes.
Guess what? They rallied round, left whatever they had to come help
Yep.
us finish the orders.
Yep.
And it was well delivered.
Nice.
And when it was done, I always say, before the Lord takes you to the next level, you're going to go through a test. And when you go through the test, depending on what lessons you learn, you're going to move up.
Oh, wow.
Once we were done with that, I said, woman, you're done with those small businesses
Yes.
because that's when they can do this to you.
Yeah.
You got to get bigger.
That's right.
When you get bigger,
Yeah.
you have more employees.
Yes.
You have less stress.
Yes.
And then you're not going to be teaching people specialized areas unless
Right.
they're ready to pay you an arm and a leg.
Right.
They're going to learn a little operation. and
Right.
together they put something together.
Right.
Now, if they need each other to put things together, and whoever is listening, and my
Right.
workers know that,
Yeah.
they're not going to walk off on you.
Right.
Because you didn't teach them everything
Right.
to just ditch you. along
Right,
the way.
right,
So
right.
that's how we got into the bigger
Okay,
thing. After
okay.
the small wasn't working, our exclusive bespoke work,
Right.
where workers will let you down as and when they chose.
Well, right.
I thought, no, not for me, but I'm not giving up.
Right.
I don't give up.
Any chance you're going to make this automated?
We may get there.
That you may get there.
Equipment is so expensive. And I have a confession to make. I have a passion to impact on lives.
Okay.
So I'm a Rotarian. I'm a past
Oh, my
president
dad
of
is also
Rotary. Wow.
Rotarian, yeah.
So it's something I can do away with. I tend to see myself more as a social entrepreneur. And it's good that I have my daughter who was a former banker.
Okay.
But she will always remind you that bills have to be paid and we got to make the money. Otherwise, mom is just taking people on trying to change lives, build
Right,
lives. And so
right,
there's
right,
that build.
right.
Of course, I bring the business innovative ideas, but then I like impacting on lives. So we run a lot of training programs
Nice.
as well for people. But the benefit of this, we always have a pool of workers that we can fall on, So, yeah.
Awesome,
know,
awesome,
yeah.
awesome. So, anything that you would look back and say, I wish I had done it differently? Because sometimes I look back at my life and I'm like, whoo, that guy did it. I should have done it differently.
Differently,
And
yeah.
anything you would have done differently?
Um, the one thing, the one mistake I keep making, and I get lectured even by one of my brothers about communication. I get upset and I forget who I'm speaking to, and I may say things I shouldn't say. People get upset with me, but thankfully, they go back and then begin to focus on what she's trying to get at, what
Okay.
is frustrating her.
Okay.
Those are things that I still wish I could do differently.
Got you.
I still wish I could communicate differently.
Okay.
It got to a point in time when I would type out communication and give to my daughter to edit before I sent
Right,
it
right,
out.
right.
Because there were too many who would say, Nora, did you read that before you sent
Right,
that?
right.
I remember trying to give a letter to be handed over to a boss somewhere, and the employee, one of the key management personnel, as he was taking it, it fell.
And he was
It fell. It had been a storm, so he went into the drain and he
Right.
said, "Yeah, we know this one shouldn't
Wasn't
go
it?
there.
Oh, right.
You again, saying to somebody, you think you're a tin god,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Right.
Frustrations of running a business, it
Yeah.
hits all of us.
Yeah.
And a woman in business, it's not getting any better.
Better, no.
But I think women should help make it better.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that I'm one of those women,
Yes.
especially on the various boards that I serve on.
Yes, I
I'm
saw
hoping
that.
to help make it better.
Yeah.
But these are I think my communication skills when I get upset, I
Yeah.
need to deal with that
Yeah.
better.
Oh my God. I see.
Better.
I can't even say I see me in you because I'm the same. But sometimes I think
Yeah.
I've taken a few leadership courses.
Yeah.
And I think authenticity makes
It's key.
leaders.
It's
And
key.
so, you know what? Okay, your communication may be brash,
Yeah.
but you get the word out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Instead of,
Trying to
mollycoddling
market-
people, and I don't know, it doesn't work for me. So I'm
No.
like you. I'm just
Yeah.
no filters.
Because you can try that too, and I try that. And in
doesn't
recent
work.
times, I tried that with someone. I found that it didn't work because
No.
things are dragging on. So then I
Yep.
come back to being me.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that would make a difference.
Yeah.
Because it's focused. It's not about. I always say it's not personal.
Yeah.
It's not an attack on the individual.
No.
There are things to
You
be
want
done.
it done, right.
Yeah, and it's got to be done.
Right,
So, yeah.
right. And I would
But-
apologize if I'm
yeah.
brash, but
Yeah.
I am very impatient. And so when I want things done, if it's not done, you can tell.
Yeah,
My whole
yeah,
stance
yeah.
changes. But once
That's
it's done,
Yeah.
I will chill out.
That's it.
And
That's it.
that's
That's
just
it.
it.
So about doing things differently, I go back to where it all started, the different steps, the pitfalls, the breakthroughs, and so on. And for me, I think each stage was necessary to take me on to the next level. I mean, there have been experiences, I don't know, even in my personal experiences, when I chose to start a family early. And then here I have my precious daughter who's a part of everything that I do.
There you go.
Someone may have said, oh, but you could have waited.
Yeah.
But then there she was along the way. And I always say, one day I said to this porch, I said, because of you, I'm not going to fail in life.
That's right.
I can't.
Yes,
It's not
you
an
can't.
option
You
for
can't.
your sake,
you can't.
So, yeah. So really, there is nothing that I would want to change
Yeah.
because all of this
Made you.
is who you see here before you
Yes.
now,
Yes. Any
And,
pattern words
okay.
for young
For-
women
for
trying
young
to be
women.
like you?
Yeah.
Any pattern
Okay.
words like
Yes,
a woman
yes,
who's
yes.
watching this saying, "Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
I want to be like her." Like, what would you say?
What would I say? Okay, the first thing I want you to know is that I don't have all the answers. And when you don't have the answers, don't think you're lacking something. I like to learn. Now we have technology, so it's good to just read. We even have the AI. You can ask any question.
Yeah.
But then also, I spoke about association. Associate yourself with people, but do not follow. Do not copy blindly. Learn. And then believe in yourself. Value yourself,
Yep.
and then believe in yourself. Set a goal. It's the plans that you can change, but have that goal in mind always. And please, your goal should not be, I want to be rich. What is the meaning of I want to be rich? Wealth is measured not in how much money you can count, not in how many cars you can show off. Wealth is who you become. And once you become an authentic, I love the word authentic, that person who knows what he or she is about, who gives to his community, who serves, who feels within them that I am better because those around me are better.
Better.
Because of me.
Yeah.
So, think bigger, think deeper, think beyond the pettiness.
Yeah.
Wealth will come because you give. Wealth will come because you contemplate, because you search deeper, because you learn,
Yeah.
because you're humble,
Yes.
because you seek opportunities. So this is what I want to say to you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome
yes.
stuff. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
allowing us to come to your wonderful, wonderful space here and giving us some insights into who Dr. Nora Bannerman is.
Thank
And
you.
thank you,
Thank
audience.
you.
This is Diva Doc. Let's talk. See
Yeah.
you next time.
Thank you.